Okay, so friction fire. So technically any two woods work. Practically some woods work a whole lot better than others. I go by a rule of thumb, and that's if you can take your thumbnail and dent it into the wood, leave a mark, it's probably pretty good to work. If you can't leave a mark with your thumb, it's probably going to be too hard. You'll just end up with shiny sticks and they're really fire. The first thing I'll do, my hearth board, I'll take and put just a little notch. Okay, just a little bit. I'm going to take a spindle. So what I'm actually using, this is cedar. The spindle that I'm using is yucca. It's a dead stalk of a yucca plant. I'm just going to sharpen it and put a little point on the end of it.
So is that piece harder?
It's not really harder. You know, it's about density. So you want some different things to happen. Whenever you grind them together, you want it to create a real fine powdery dust. You don't want this too much harder than this, because if it is, then it'll just drill through. Same thing, you don't want this too hard, because this will just break apart. So you want the density to be about the same. You want it hard enough to burn and to break apart the fibers, but you want it soft enough that it's not going to just completely fall apart. You can use woods from the same branch, from the same tree, so they could actually be the same, both for your spindle and your hearth board. Okay, so this method that I'm going to show you is called the bow drill. For my bow, I'm using a buffalo rib bone. I use it just because it's strong, sturdy, it's not going to break, but you don't have to use one. You can just use a straight stick. This one's not used for fire making too. It's the holes you'll see. You can use it the same way. Piece of string. You can use a shoelace if you have one. This is hemp cord that I'm using. If you don't have hemp cord, you can take fibers, the inner fibers from different trees, weave them, cord them together, make a pretty strong rope. This is locust.
Nothing like making fire from friction with the sound of Harleys rumbling in the background, huh?
Welcome to the 21st century. Okay, so one thing about this is it's all about stability. So when you're doing this, you want good posture, because the bow drill was actually helping you create that fire as a downward pressure from your waist. And straight over that spindle, use your weight for that downward pressure to create enough heat. Notice there's two ends to the stick. There's the part that's actually going to make the fire, and then the other end. So this part that's actually going to make the fire, you don't want to ever touch, because the oils in your hand, or if you lay it down in the dirt, will lubricate it. And it makes it hard to keep the fire on. The other end, you do want to lubricate, you want to get it dirty and wet, anything that'll help it slide. I'm going to take this piece of block of wood, you can use stone or bone, and that's going to sit on that plate so that it can actually slide and turn. Take that stick, just wrap it up in that rope. Now I've got pretty good tension on it, so using my thumb and my index finger, I can control the tension on that string. Put in that little thing right there. So I'm not actually going for fire at this point, I'm just mating these two pieces of wood together. So I'm going to do this until it starts to smoke and until it starts to charge just a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty good. So there's some things to take note of here. So for one, notice that it's charged. Notice the dust. So this wood dust is actually what...
I think they're almost gone.
So this wood dust is actually what I'm going to ignite. And see how it's fine and powdery? Mm-hmm. that's what I want. If it's long or grainy, it's going to be harder to ignite. So you want that dust as fine as possible. But notice where it was. It was around the outside edge of that. You need three things to make fire. That's fuel, heat, and oxygen. So I'm creating the heat through friction. All that fuel was gathering, the fuel or wood dust was gathering along the outside edge. But the greatest source of heat is right there in the center. So what I want to do is carve a notch into that, just opening up one side of it. And what that will allow is a plane of oxygen into where the heat is the greatest. And it will also allow all that wood dust a place to go. So I'm consolidating my fuel. So at this point, I'm just going to carve a notch here into it. And here's some examples while I'm carving this notch. If you want to take a look at some of the old ones where they've been notched out. Okay, that's pretty good. So what I've done is just opened up one side of it. So now I'm going to take a sliver of bark. You can use a leaf. Set that down underneath it. So all that's going to do is catch all that pile of wood dust that I'm going to create. Okay, so at this point, I'm ready to go for a fire. I'm going to go through and do the same process as I did when I was mating those two sticks together. Only this time, as a start, I'm just going to try to heat the wood a little bit. Once that wood starts smoking and I think I have enough fuel or wood dust, I'm going to go for speed and downward pressure. Create enough heat to ignite the wood dust. And notice my body position, how that everything is locked together and I have all my weight off that spindle. Okay, so now hopefully what I've done is create a little smoldering pile of wood dust. So we almost have fire. I have heat because it's glowing a little bit red and it's smoking. I've got some pine needles here for tinder. And all I'm going to do is drop that wood dust into there. So now I have a whole handful of fuel. Now I'm going to add oxygen to it. I don't want to blow too close because the carbon dioxide coming out of my breath will put the fire out. So I just want to use my breath to push air towards it.
That's fire, all right.
It's fire.